call to order the December 20th meeting of the Development Waiver Review Committee. At this time, I would ask everyone in the audience to turn off any audible devices. And I'll start with introductions. My name is Ann Lippman. I'm the Community Development Director, and I'm the chairperson of this committee. So when anyone is presenting, please present all your questions and comments directly to me. I will ask my fellow members and our county attorney if they would turn on their mics and introduce themselves right now.
Jason Phillips, County Attorney.
Ray Wooten, Interim Director of Water.
George Jones, Director, Department of Transportation.
Bruce Coyle, County Engineer.
Frank Baker, County Manager.
Thank you all. Our first item on today's agenda is approval of the minutes from the November 15th, 2022 meeting. If everyone has had a chance to go over those, I will ask for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve from Mr. Jones and a second from Mr. Coyle. I will call, see if there are any questions. If not, I will call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed would be a nay. There are none. The minutes are approved unanimously by a vote of 5-0. Our first agenda item today is a stream buffer variance. It is case 2022-16-SBV, application by Spencer Schlamp requesting to encroach 1,415 square feet of impervious buffer and 1,265 square feet of county buffer for the installation of a pool. The property is located in land lot 1039, District 3, Section 3. Address is 187 Parkway Court, and it is located in Post 1. Is the applicant present? Okay. If you would like to just come up to the lectern, please sign in and state your name and present your case. While he's doing that, I will note that Planning and Zoning has received one caller with questions about this case.
All right. I'm just trying to put a pool behind our house there, and because of the topography of the land and how narrow my property gets, obviously around the pond, behind the house is about the only feasible place that we could put the pool in like we're trying to do. So we're just trying to squeeze it in between the house and the pond there. That's what we're trying to do. Obviously, I think you can see in the site plan that we gave some recompense on the left side of the pond there to make up for the land that we were going to take. There we go. Right
Yes.
there. That's better. So you can see up there in the top right where we put the recompense in there to make up for the land that we're going to steal for the pool area down below.
Okay.
That's
Does
about it.
anybody on the committee have any questions for the applicant?
Your driveway,
Yes, sir.
you come through the subdivision now?
I do come through the subdivision, yes, sir.
Did your house used to be on that other?
I'm pretty sure before I had it, it did. The way the driveway stops, it appears it used to cross the creek and come out that easement on Mount Tabor, but that would have been long before I purchased, it's what it appears.
You purchased it with that lot in part of the subdivision?
They're two separate lots, yes, sir. I purchased the 3/4 acre tract in the subdivision and then the 9-point-something acres behind the subdivision. That's correct. And we use the lot in the neighborhood is where we enter through.
Are there any other questions? Thank you, sir. You can have a seat.
Thanks.
At this time, I will ask if there is anyone in the audience who would like to speak on behalf of this application, if they would like to step forward. Is there anyone wishing to express opposition or has questions or concerns regarding this application? If there are none, I will close the public comment portion of this, and I will ask if anyone has a motion on this case.
I make a motion, we approve the application as submitted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Coyle and a second by Mr. Jones to approve the application as submitted. Are there any questions or comments?
I do have a question. What was the inquiry about?
Just, I only have on my notes that there was one caller with questions, probably received letters.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other questions, I will call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed would be a nay. There are none. The motion is granted unanimously. Our second case today is case 2022-21W, application by DCH Ventures / Cynthia Hill requesting to waive public sewer connection within the Pumpkin Vine Sewer District and instead allow proposed reuse project to install a septic system for the existing pet groom salon business. This property is located in land lot 682, District 3, Section 3, located west of Dallas Ackworth Highway and Royal Sunset Drive intersection, and it is located in Post 1. I will note that we did receive a call with questions and a note that the signs were removed prematurely. The signs were placed in time, correctly, but they, I know I drove by there yesterday and I don't recall seeing the signs. Jason, are there any issues
If they were placed timely, the fact that somebody's vandalized them is a different matter altogether. I don't believe that the applicant is necessarily out of compliance
Okay,
at that point in time.
so just want to make sure we can go forward. Okay, if the applicant is present, if you will just sign in, if you've already signed in, just state your name and state all your questions and comments to me.
Hey there, I'm Cynthia Hill. I'm the owner of Amazing Tales Pet Salon. We're wanting to move our current business 3 doors down to the Tumble Bus location, and we're needing to install a septic tank, as this time we cannot connect to sewer. There's too many obstacles at this time. We've already been approved and have a permit through environmental health to move forward.
Okay, does anyone have any questions from the committee?
Yes. So on the existing building, you're modifying the septic system, and in the modification, be able to handle all the new pets and everything that are going
That
to
is
be there.
correct. I have my plumber here with me that would be able to answer any of your questions.
Okay, so you're modifying the existing septic tank.
The existing septic.
Oh, sir,
Yes, sir.
if you could just, we don't want to have, from the back of the room, if you could just come up to the lectern and please sign in.
Joseph Willoughby, Right Way Plumbing. The existing system really is more of a homemade system that was there. The county never really had any hard records to go on as far as a tank or fill lines. They know that we're there because the old business had a system and a working bathroom and was permitted at some point many years ago. We originally were going to connect to sewer, but after a ton of research, getting with the Georgia Department of Transportation, Paulding County Water, so on and so forth, there's really no feasible sewer route. We even attempted to go with a pump system, but we can't get the necessary easements to install that. So the next system was, we got an engineer to draw up plans. We've had a class 4 test on the site that will handle 2 systems if need be. One would be more than sufficient for what Ms. Hill needs for her current water uses at her current business, square footage wise, and the current size of that building, which we have ample enough septic system to cover it and everything. So she's just to a point now to where sewer is not really an option at all feasible. It checks like 85 or 90% of all the boxes and everything.
So there's an existing septic system in place
Correct.
for the site, and
Yes.
you're bringing septic up for the entire site
Up to current code. We're
To
gonna
current
put
code.
literally a
To-
brand new system in, new tanks, new field lines in an opposite area of where the old system was. We've excavated a few sites on site to determine where the old system was, even though there were no plans with the environmental health. They had no existing plans.
So it's
we-
got to be brought up to code.
Yes, sir. And we had an engineer a system that would work, and then over-engineer it with a backup system on another site on the property in case of failure. My recommendation was, if sewer ever becomes available feasibly, gravity to that property when Georgia DOT gets done with their expansion, that we would always have the option to go over to sewer at that point.
Okay.
I assume this new system has some kind of screen on it.
It does, it has.
I know our
actually-
dog pound.
It actually has, yeah,
That's
it
on
has
sewer.
three.
Hair
And
was a big issue.
It is. It'll have three different forms of removal of hair and debris before it ever gets into the tank, and then it has another dosing tank, which is pretty familiar if you have a injection system that just pumps a fluid water to the field. That's all that will be going in there and everything.
And you as the owner, are you, willing to commit to Titus Sewer within 6 months of it becoming available?
Absolutely.
Including all tap fees?
Absolutely.
Anyone else have any questions? Any other questions? Okay, thank you. You can both have a seat. At this point, I will ask if there is anyone else present who would like to speak on behalf of this application. Okay, on behalf, okay. Okay, hold on. Is there anyone who would like to express opposition or has questions, concerns regarding the application? If you'll, come up to the podium just like everyone else. Okay, seems like we have two people, so, no, I think, well, let's go one person at a time, and like I've asked everyone else, there is a sign-up sheet there, if you would please
Yeah,
sign in.
I have the property across the road, and we have a well.
Sorry,
There's-
I don't want to interrupt you, but can you sign in for us and introduce yourself?
Where do I sign on it?
That clipboard.
Oh, okay. Everything's electronic these days.
We still do a little old school here.
Anyway, I live right
And if
across
you
the
could-
street,
Sir, just state your name, please.
Bill Flood.
Okay.
And the zoning is that they don't have access to Old Dallas Ackworth Road. It's been that way forever. But the thing I'm concerned about is we have a well and we use it. The dog grooming place uses vast quantities of water. And there's nothing on here about the drain field. There should be a drain field somewhere. And the place that they're moving out of, their neighbors told me that they do use vast quantities of water. So the water has to go somewhere. And I don't know how much of a drain field they're going to be able to put in there and how long that tank will hold up. I know that there is city sewers around, going up and down the highway, that they're in the process of widening, and there'll be sewers there. Anyway, that's my concerns. I don't want my well contaminated
Okay.
with
Thank you for
anything
that.
of
And
nature.
when we have all of our comments, we will ask the applicant to come back up and see if they can answer your question.
All right, great, thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to come and speak with either opposition, questions, or concerns regarding the application? Sam, please. There is a sign-up sheet there if you sign in and state your name.
We are directly across,
If I could ask you to state your name, please.
I'm sorry, Janice Adams.
Okay. Okay.
Our property, we've been there since 1985. We are 60 feet from our well to their property line. And as Mr. Flood said, we know that septics have overflows or fill lines, that the liquid runs out into the property, down into the ground. We are not sure where our feed is. We've never been sure. There's a water table under there, but we don't know how large, how small. We've never had problems with our well. When people down the road did, and I don't think Mr. Flood had problems with his, but people further down had limited water. So we're thinking that it's coming from that area. There's a creek that comes across through there, right down below us, which makes me believe that we may have a water feed that comes in the area of where they want to put the septic. Yes, there was a small septic there before, but B&N, Heating and Air Conditioning, was the first there. They had nothing that went into the ground. They had no problems. There has been a couple of businesses there that, again, had no problem with anything like that, except for an automobile place that I did ask Paulding to check them out, and they said they had screens and things that antifreeze wouldn't be leaking into the property, but they didn't stay. Within a couple of weeks, they went away. So since then, we've never had a business over there that would hurt our groundwater. This, I know that dog shampoos have permethrin, poisons. I know because I've carried my dog up to have him cleaned and asked them to use my shampoo, and I know it had permethrin in it, and they did. So if this goes, even if they put another larger septic, or even two, as the man spoke of, there's still got to have that fill line, that because, well, okay. But our well is right there.
Can I just interrupt you real quick and ask you,
Yes, ma'am.
where do you live? Do you live on Old Ackworth Road, or do you live off Dallas Ackworth?
Old Dallas Ackworth
Old
Road,
Dallas Ackworth.
323.
323. Okay, so you're right across the street.
Yep.
It's a tiny street. Y'all
Yeah.
have to understand, it's not even a two-lane street.
I understand, ma'am, and please no comments from the audience, only one person at a time. Okay, is there anything else? I think
That,
your main concerns seem to be the, concerns about your well and
Yeah.
your neighbor's well and the
I
proposed
was,
septic system. Is there
Yeah.
anything else?
I was told that because, again, worrying about our wells and the groundwater, and when the road come through there and was finally paved, I worried about that too, but I made phone calls at that time. And the road being as small as it is, I don't see that. Won't even, the land is still there. It's not even a road that would push the water back or would hurt our feed. Because like I said, we don't know where the feed's coming from. And we've had water since we got there on the well. And wish to keep it.
Gotcha.
And we've not had any problems with our well. So my main concern is the pollution. We
Okay.
have got so much pollution in the world. And the sewer system is out there. I understand it's an expense. I understand it's trouble. But Paulding County has a public sewer for those reasons. Am I wrong? So now they're going to come in front of us 60 feet away from our well to put in something that could possibly harm us. They won't know until we die of cancer. They won't know until we're sick.
Okay, is
So-
there anything, I think I understand that you have concerns about your well in
This
this
is
septic
scary.
tank?
It's very scary.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
So thank you. Thank you all.
Is there anyone else who has questions, concerns, or opposition to this case? Thank you for signing in. If you could just state your name and give us your address, please.
My name is Joanne Bullington. I'm 451 Old Dallas Ackworth Road North, which, by the way, that little road that we live on happens to be a pre-Civil War road, which has changed names 5 times in the 40-something years that I've lived there. So just to give you an idea, this is a very special, small, little road. Development all around, it's fine. A bunch of old people live there. Again, my concern, also I'm on a well, but I'm a little further away, and I think Ms. Adams spoke certainly eloquently about that, has more to say than I did. And the chemicals, again, maybe they can answer to that, because our concern is for all those chemicals. Mr. Flood briefly mentioned that the zoning, this is related perhaps, for that facility, when it was put in, that there was no access allowed on our road, that the access to that property, whatever building it was, had to be from the main Dallas Ackworth Highway, not from our road. Periodically, we see signs that perhaps people would like to change that. It's a very narrow strip between our part, Little Road, and the main road. And again, my concerns moving forward are that there's no way that they will allow access to this property now or under any future owner. So, and that leads me to my feeling in general of why I have problems with exemptions for things, that planning happens for a reason, and exemptions should really be the exception. And so I'm concerned not just, and I have no problem with Cynthia, by the way. Cynthia used to do my old dog's nails for free. She would never charge me a penny. I mean, this is a lovely lady. But I wonder why somebody would buy a property that they know requires plumbing without knowing ahead of time what they said they had problems hooking up to the sewage system. I would want to know that ahead of time, and instead of going in and then trying to figure it out, I would have those answers before I bought the property. That's what I would do. And while I do believe absolutely that they are going to maintain, but in the 40 years we've lived there, we've seen many, 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 many businesses there. And again, I've been there for 40-something years. I'm a widow. I'd like to die there, I'm 73. I have I just, anyway, and I feel bad because I really do like Cynthia. I'm very fond of her, but I guess that's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. And I will just state that we are here only to consider the request to waive the public sewer connection. So at this point, we can't really address the access on Old Dallas Ackworth, but we can, it's planning and zoning, we can certainly research the stipulations and make sure that those are enforced from the original zoning. Is there anyone else? We are probably running out of time. We only have about 15 minutes for comments from the public. One quick thing, and then we will have to close the public comment. And please, unfortunately, I'm going to have to ask you to come up to the podium.
That's not God gave me these legs for a reason. I was just worried also about fecal matter, urine, viruses, and bacteria that will get washed into the ground that won't even go into the septic system. And when it goes into the ground, it's going into the water table, it's coming into our well, and we're drinking it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Hill, if you and your plumber would like to come up and maybe provide some comments in response to some of the questions that were brought up by our public comment portion.
I would love to address any questions that the neighbors have. I totally understand it. First, I've heard of any opposition of it. One, I don't know exactly where their well is because, like I said, this is the first I've heard of it, but I can guarantee that the existing septic system that was there before, the newer one will be further away.
Well, hold up, Mark,
Sorry.
can you maybe switch us to the
Sorry.
site plan? That might help in our conversation, might show some of the audience, because I believe the site plan you submitted shows where, do we have the other one? Because the other one has this, yeah.
There we go.
So this one kind of shows
So
where,
in this photo, we have two options for a system. The primary, which both of them tested the exact same. Either one can be used with no issue. The engineer, however, did say that he would suggest, because of easier access and further away from the street, I guess it would be the north side of the property, would be what he would recommend as the first system installed, with a backup system on the south side and the southernest most point, if ever needed. Two, the soil was tested multiple times, and as far as it goes with wells, I work on wells every day also, being in the plumbing business, and I can assure you that I've tested thousands of wells with water treatment stuff. A septic system really, especially if it's more than 10 or 15 feet away from an existing well, doesn't have no bearing. And I know that they have concerns, and I totally understand it because they're not, the knowledge of it's based on hearsay or whatnot of what septic systems do to existing wells. I myself live on a well. My septic system's 65 feet away, and I have kids and grandkids, and we drink every day from it. Engineers and stuff have done research on this stuff for decades, and the reason they approve stuff like this is because they've already done the research to show that they're not really going to affect their drinking water. I, however, if it will ease their mind, I have no trouble going over there and testing their water weekly, if that's what it would take to make them, understand that the water quality has nothing to do with the septic being installed. The street is about 60 foot away from their property edge. The field is probably more like 200 feet away from what I believe the well is to the closest well of the homeowner. There's some other wells several hundred feet down the way, all of which the wells are higher in elevation than the proposed septic system. And further, like I said, Ms. Hill, when she was going to buy the property, did all the research before she bought the property. All the septic and soil survey tests and all the stuff that she did was pre-purchase of the property, permit included. I believe the closing date was after a permit had already been issued for the on-site septic system, because the sewer system was so difficult to tie onto, and she couldn't get the necessary easements, and Paulding County Water really couldn't help in that situation based on where the existing sewer is in relationship to her.
do you know where the closest sewer?
I do. The closest is actually across 92 where the new Martins was installed. That is actually the closest and gravity available. The problem with that is, with the project of 92 being widened, DOT doesn't want anything going across the street. Totally understand. Paulding County was kind of in the same situation. Getting to that point was not really feasible. The easiest point to get to is there's sewer in the shopping center just south, which is where Ms. Hill's current business is located, in the shopping center. That would have to be pumped. Again, we were willing to explore that option, but the two houses that we would need easements from, our two properties, commercial properties, weren't even open to it. I mean, it was a hard no. So I then suggested to Paulding County Water that they extend the sewer down to Ms. Hill's property, and we would gladly go to sewer then. That wasn't an option for the foreseeable future. So that, like I said, she didn't buy the property knowing that she would have to go through she did the research, or we did the research before she closed on the property, and got a permit saying we could install an on-site septic system, since there was already one there as long as we had an engineer draw up plans and do a class 4 test saying it was safe to put it there and put an ample system in, under the assumption when sewer is available on her property, she will gladly go over to county sewer, no questions asked, within a, 60 or 90 or 180 day, whatever you guys.
So I just want to make sure we get all the questions answered.
One more
Hold on.
thing.
Okay.
Water bill issues. So Miss Hill's water bill, we got the last 12 months of it for what she uses at her current business. The square footage of that building is pretty close to the square footage of where she's going now. So we basically took that water bill and add 1.5 to it, and we designed a system that will handle double that, just to make sure that we're limiting what can go into the ground, even though it's temporary. Like, this is what all this is a temporary system in order for her to operate a business until there's something that she can tie on to, going in. And like I said, when she originally purchased the property, she was on the assumption nothing would be temporary because Paulding County says you're good. They issued a permit, we did all the tests, but she's willing to do this as a temporary and incur all the cost of it.
So you've already received a permit from Paulding County
Yes, ma'am.
Environmental Health
Yes,
for
ma'am.
the system, and you're gonna basically have two systems. The primary one's gonna be the one to the north, and then you're also gonna install lines to the south of the building.
So we were not going to install the backup unless
Okay.
it was needed.
Okay.
Because she is planning on going over to sewer
Okay.
the minute it gets out. The backup is there, so in case there is some sort of failure or if there was a water issue to where it was going to cause problems, then she has another site on there that she could put it in. But again, the
Okay, so
existing
the
site.
primary fill lines are gonna be what we see on the north on
Yes,
this
ma'am.
site plan. And can you comment as the plumber on anything with the dog shampoo, any of the
Oh, yeah,
chemicals
yeah,
that might
I
be
mean,
used,
so
how
when-
those are
Absolutely.
filtered
So
out and-
she had to submit a list of every chemical that is used in her current business that she's operated for years with no issue. And we submit that to the engineer and the Smart Water Solutions company in Atlanta. That's probably the second or third highest rated company in Metro Atlanta for engineers. She submitted that list to them, and they use that when they create or when they engineer the current system. And so they know anything that's used. So anything that would be a red flag, that would have been on the engineer report, and the county would have never issued a permit if they thought it was deemed. That's why we're installing the screens and the dosing tank. That way, any water that's put in the ground
it's gonna be clean.
it's probably cleaner than what's running down the road, to be totally
And with
honest with you.
septic tanks, the fill lines, they typically, and this is where you have to remember I'm a city planner, not an engineer, they don't leak, do they?
They enclose the water.
They enclose the water.
to a specific area within 3 feet. So if you have a chamber of water, your disturbance is within 3 feet of each side.
So an appropriately installed septic tank,
For example, we're
There would
allowed to
be
put
no-
in field lines, I think 25 or 30 feet in Paulding County away from creeks, from freshwater creeks. I think every county's got their own different code, but I think Paulding County may be 25 or 30 feet from a creek and then 50 feet from a pool, I believe. So we're triple that of any well within the existing area. And like I said, we're also elevation-wise lower.
okay. Does anybody on the committee have any additional questions for the applicant or her plumber? Right now? Okay, thank you. Since there are no other questions at this time, I will ask if anyone on the committee has a motion on this case.
I make a motion to approve with stipulations, that they are a stipulation to connect to sewer within 6 months of it becoming available.
Okay, is that your only stipulation? Do you have more?
Yes, I believe so.
So we have a motion from Mr. Wooten with one stipulation. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second from Mr. Baker. So just to review, we have a motion from Mr. Wooten, seconded by Mr. Baker, to approve the request of case 2022-21W with one stipulation that the applicant connect to sewer within 6 months of it being available. Are there any questions? If not, I will call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed would be a nay. There are none. The motion is granted unanimously. Moving on to our third case today. We are done with that case. We'll,
So that matter is now over. If you have questions, you can bring them up after the meeting. Okay.
all right, we are switching over to item number 4, which is case number 2022-22-W. Application by Brian Mueller requesting to utilize an on-site sewage management system for 10 proposed lots. Property is located in Land Lot 259, District 1, Section 3, located southeast of Villa Rica Highway and Ridge Road at 582 Ridge Road in Post 2. Is the applicant present? Yes. Okay. And I will just note while you are signing in that we have received no calls or questions on this item.
Okay. So, my first time doing this, so I'll just go ahead and explain that this is a big chunk of land, 27 acres, that I was eyeballing for a blend of kind of recreation and investment. And because of its access to a nice road, the land is nearby is beautiful. I noticed it's all zoned R2, and that would mean I could cut lots down to half an acre to put as many houses in there as possible, but I don't want to do that because the land is beautiful. So I've, walked the land a bunch. I had it tested with level 2 septic, perk testing before I bought it to make sure that it, that there weren't any red flags of me putting homes on it. And then I worked with a company to help divvy. Oh, and then I did the level 3 septic on it, which is just, I don't know, 200-300 tests that they performed to find the different pieces of land that are worthy of septic or that would be good for septic, so I know how to break out lots. And then I worked with S. Nelson and Associates to help divvy up the lots based on where the land is. And now we've come up with a plan for 10 lots that would require septic because there still is no sewer on Ridge Road until there is some up by where we're at. If y'all are familiar at Ridge and 61 where Publix is, there is sewer right there, but it does not come this far down. And I think they're going to put it in one day, but there's no sign of when that would be. So the whole area is on septic. There's subdivisions of septic nearby, and I just wanted, I think the average lot will be 2.5 to 2.7 acres. So this is pretty good chunks of land for single septic systems, and this is what I was targeting. So I was told when I did it that the county would be willing to hear any exemptions. It is in the Sweetwater Sewer District, but there's no sewer there, so they said that exemptions are common there. So that's it in a nutshell. Any
Okay.
questions?
Does anybody on the committee have any questions for the applicant?
Being in the Sweetwater Basin, we want you to acknowledge the properties in the basin, which you have. And as a new development in the basin, the property will still need to honor the intergovernmental wastewater treatment agreement for Sweetwater, which means, you will be responsible still for paying sewer connection permit fees. And you will also, in the agreement, there are provisions for dry sewer. And in the future, when this comes in, we would need you to also provide easements to accommodate future sewer.
Understood. I did some of that homework before I bought the land, and I totally understand, and I'm happy to do it. I guess the easements, I'd have to do a little more homework on, you know, the way gravity would flow, and where those sewers would actually be. If they're right on the road, that'd be pretty easy for all the ones close to the road. Those other ones would have to run a different direction, I think. But there's a huge Georgia power line nearby, and there is some sort of utilities there, but it's not sewer. But I understand that they would have to pay. They would have to pay the wastewater treatment anyway, because it's in that district.
I have a question on your private drive you're gonna extend down through there.
Yes, sir.
I know county water is available on Ridge Road. Do you anticipate laying a water main
Yes.
down that road
Yes.
on an easement or behind a big meter or several bunch of services?
Well, I haven't had engineering done on it yet, but my assumption was that I'm gonna have about 10 feet on the side of that path, it's gonna be, or road, and there will be plenty of room I wanna run electric down it, and I wanna run sewer down it, also want cable down it, and maybe gas. So I want it all to be there, and how the meters work, I would need guidance from whoever the engineer is in the county on how I do that, or what's approved and what's not.
And, you know, the other question on access at Ridge Road, you got multiple lots, or you willing to gang the driveways up? We don't like that's a thoroughfare. It's
Yes.
not necessarily a residential street.
Mhm.
And, I would be concerned, I don't think there's a visual issue up there, but I do not know. I haven't seen any engineering reports on what the site distance is for those driveways.
Yeah, most of them are fine, and I know if you can see the screen, it looks like 5 lots are on the road, or on Ridge Road, but they're actually not. They asked that we leverage the path of the new road as much as possible. So the 2 lots, I think they're 3 and 4 that are right next to the road, that come up to Ridge Road, they would actually not have a driveway on there. So there'd only be 3 individual lots, 2, 5, and 6, that will access the Ridge Road itself. They have good lines of sight, and I'm indifferent on whether they get water from the sewer or from the main I run, or if they get it from the street. Yes, sir.
Make a comment on that. I believe there was some correspondence from our deputy director, Erica Parrish, to S. Nelson, and there was essentially an agreement from them that lots 1, 3, and 4, like I said, would be accessing essentially that private easement.
That's right. That's right. Thank you for that.
Would you be willing to look at possibly track 6 and track 5 to have one driveway servicing both of those?
Absolutely. Their drive, where the lay of the land, I would like both of their driveways to be right next to each other. I would also, and I even mentioned that to S. Nelson, because I've seen places where 2 driveways are actually, they look like one, and the property line's right down the middle. But he said he wasn't familiar with that being commonplace or anything. But I think that makes better sense, because then there's fewer access points to the road, and I don't know. I just think it would look better there to have fewer driveways.
The purpose of that bow between 3 and 4?
Yes.
Why did it do that?
Because the coolest, most giant oak tree is right smack there, and I want to keep it. And there's a huge couple of pine trees behind it. So part of my thinking of developing those front lots, one is I want to keep some of the land behind it. So I want it to stay beautiful. But I feel like as soon as you pull into that and you see that giant oak tree, it's a big white oak, it's about that big around, that it feels like you're pulling into kind of old Georgia. And I just think it's beautiful. So that's why it's funny like that. It's going around a couple of giant trees.
Mr. Baker. think you have a question.
Thank you. Actually, it's a question of clarity from asking the chair. Is this one transaction that we are looking at? Because I know there's 10 applications. So I just wanted to make sure that we address that so that there's clarity there as to what we're considering.
I noticed in going over it, seems like you submitted did you submit an application for each proposed
Yeah,
lot?
believe me, I did not want to pay for 10 of them, but I was advised that I needed to do each individual one, so that was painful.
Okay.
I was advised by S. Nelson, and then Leah, I think, is in the planning and zoning office, and it was advised that I would need to do it 10 times, so it's all,
Okay.
it's
Thank
10 of them all in the same spot, and
Okay.
they're all broken out up there.
Jason, can we take these? Do
Yeah,
we need
from
to-
a procedural perspective, hypothetically, I don't vote. I actually don't vote, but hypothetically, if all waivers were going to be approved or all waivers were going to be denied, you could make that motion in a single motion for all cases. If, on the other hand, there are some applications where you're going to approve and others you're going to deny, then I would take those in groups or individually.
I appreciate that. I just wanted to make sure that we knew exactly what we were looking at before we proceeded. Thank you.
My pleasure. Any other questions?
Do you know how far away, I mean, I'm pretty sure that the Publix is on sewer. Do you know how far away you are from
It's
a
a-
public sewer line?
Yeah, so, and it depends where you're at, because the lots go way back. So
Yeah.
those would be,
How far away is lot 6 from sewer?
lot 6 would probably be a quarter of a mile to, 2.5 to 3/10 of a mile to get to it. So it's not, I mean, it's far, but it's not that far, but it's also slightly uphill.
Is it less than 200 feet?
Oh, yeah, no,
you think?
no.
It's more than 200 feet?
Oh, yeah,
Away.
it's be 1,000 or so.
Okay. And have you reached out to environmental health to see about if septic is a viable option on this property?
Not yet, but I did all the soil testing, and I know that the whole region is on septic, because there is no, and right behind me, it's hard, it's not on there, and maybe if I could change to another picture. Oh, I got control, that's cool. So you can
Probably need to go down to the public meeting, the map, if you want to change to a larger map. Mark? can you maybe
well, we
come-
can see still here, though. There's a subdivision right behind it. See, can you see my rolling of the dice?
Yes.
So there's about 15 houses on this side of the road and 15 here, and they're all R2, and everybody's on septic. So I'm assuming, well, I didn't go to the health department, but I'll be happy to. But, the whole region's on septic on much smaller lots than I'm proposing. So I thought it was a pretty safe bet that, and especially with the soil testing, I found, really good soil. Every single lot has hundreds of square feet of good soil that perk. They get the GE1 rating from the environmental company. So anyway, I did as much homework as I could have, as I thought of.
Okay. Does anybody else on the committee have any questions for the applicant?
Your land disturbance permit, you taking out one large one as a primary permittee to build that road? Are these a bunch of tertiary lots sold off individually, or do you know how you're gonna,
I would sell the lots individually.
so that all, except for that road, are you gonna build the road up front
I'll build the whole road.
with
I'm going to hang on
with
to
a permit? Yeah.
with the permit, of
Yeah.
course, and easements to have enough space for all the utilities. And the last lots I will put for sale are on the very back, where it has the most land. But those are the ones that I want to hang on to anyway. But if something comes up, down the road and they just become too valuable, I mean, it's so close to Publix. Like, I'd like to think that one day it's.
Each lot will have to have a tertiary permit if you do them individually. like that.
Tertiary permit?
Standalone, they'll have their own, they'll
Okay.
have submittals and their own silt fence, their own sediment traps, their own
Yes,
erosion
yes.
control on each lot.
Okay.
It would be built just like
I didn't know if you're doing a grand
Large.
thing and providing that for them or making them do individual.
The builders would have to take care of their own. Like, if someone has, I plan to sell the lots, at least the initial ones, and have a builder, they'll come up with all that themselves. And they'll have to pay for an engineer to do the actual septic, because why would I put them in if I don't have a house on it yet?
Are there any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank
can
you
have
for
a
your
seat
time.
for right now. At this point, we will open the public hearing portion. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on behalf of this application? Is there anyone who would like to express opposition or has questions or concerns regarding this application? If you would please come up to the podium, sign in, state your name and your address, and address all your comments to me.
My name's James Emerson. I live at 255 Devonwood Lane, and my property abuts to what he's going to be developing. I have a couple of concerns. See if I can get this where I can see it. We live on the south side of Devonwood Court. Across from me is a vacant lot. It's owned by my neighbor, Dan Dutton. And beyond him is the field that he's going to be developing. Last spring, when we had a lot of rain, the ground saturated, and for a month after the heavy rains quit, there was still drainage coming off of his property down underneath the cul-de-sac onto my property and running through to the back of my property. We've got a layer of clay that's between 4 and 6 feet deep. We're the fourth house from the top of the hill down. There's times when we've had heavy rain that I could smell sewage in the backyard. It's coming down the hill from the neighbors. I don't know how far that clay extends. I don't know if it's across the street in that field. But if it's in our area, it's bound to be in the neighboring lots, land, whatever. Evidently, and this hasn't been scientifically proven, but evidently that clay is blocking the sewage from soaking in. And it's running across the top of that clay down the hill, past our house in the backyard, and into the drainage. So I'm concerned about the lots on Ridge Road backing up to Dan's lots, that they'll have the same clay there and it'll overflow and run down into his lot, under the cul-de-sac into my lot. And that's a concern. I think it has to be addressed before any issues or any permits are issued. Also, the neighbor, I can't see it. Yeah, I guess I can. On the end of the street, on the end of the cul-de-sac, their lot starts at the top of the hill and runs down toward our lot. I can see where it's run across their front yard and into my land and then down into the drainage ditch. So we know that there's drainage there too that's an issue. We live on 3/4 of an acre, plus or minus a little bit. We actually mow about a half acre, and the rest is woods. But I don't think the woods there can soak up all the water that comes running down from the different directions and absorb that. So my concern is the water coming under the cul-de-sac, across our yard, and down into the stream, downstream, and what it's going to deposit on the way. We're on city water right now. We don't have sewage available in our street, in our development. We've all got an independent septic tank. I had to have mine pumped last spring, May, I think it was, June, sometime around there. And in order to put a septic tank in, they say you're supposed to have them pumped every 4 or 5 years. It costs about $4,000. So if they're going to put septic tanks up there, money needs to be set aside for each year pumping after, each 5 years pumping afterwards. I guess those are my main concerns.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone present who would like to address the committee with any opposition, questions, or concerns? If not, I will close the public comment portion. Mr. Mueller, if you would like to come back up to the podium, I don't know if you would like to, if anybody else has any additional questions, or if you would like to address some of Mr. Emerson's concerns about drainage issues and
Yeah.
heavy rain.
So, those are legit concerns. I have seen the drainage piece that he's talking about. The guy that he referenced that owns that land, his name's Dan, and he's kind of walked me around. He even walked me around the land right when I bought it, showed me some of it. And he showed me that ditch that they made. And, this isn't a drainage waiver I'm asking for, but I would be very willing to put in some sort of like swale or something to help slow the amount of water runoff that y'all get from the bottom of that lot. That would be my pleasure, because it's not doing anybody any good just running downhill. The part about them smelling sewage and stuff, that sucks. I don't want to contribute to that. There's no sewage coming from my land. There's no homes on it. So it's not, so I get it though. The last thing they want is more saturation down there to cause their sewage to have problems or neighbor areas to run off. And there's a lot of houses and a lot of septic down there. Where I'm proposing, it's a 3.5 acre lot that's there. There's, if it's engineered right and it's put in the right soil, there should be zero concern of it sending sewage down the hill. And I'd be happy to put in some, swales. They've already added them in when there was a field to just reduce the drainage. So that's it. I want to be a good neighbor, so I'd be happy to help with that. But
Okay, thank you.
any questions? I'm sorry. Or walk
Does
on?
anybody have any questions for the applicant? Doesn't
Thank
look
you.
like- Thank you. I guess at this time, we have come to the time for a motion. I don't know if we'd like to take these individually, or I feel like maybe as a group, I think, because I'm seeing some nods. So as a group, if someone would like to make a motion on case number 2022-22-W, it is for waiving the on-site sewage, or waiving the public sewer for 10 proposed lots off of Ridge Road. At this time, does anyone have a motion they'd like to make?
I'd like to make a motion to approve all the stipulations, all
10 lots.
all 10 lots. And I want to do it with stipulations. Number one, that the owner-developer acknowledges they're in the mandatory Sweetwater Basin and will conform with the payment of fees that is necessary. That they will restrict their development to the 10 large lots, no smaller than the 1.37 acres shown. That they will provide easements to accommodate future sewer. And the last is to get the proper permits for septic from the health department.
Okay,
I'll second the motion.
thank you. We have a motion by Mr. Wooten and a second by Mr. Coyle. May I ask a question of our attorney? Is it acceptable to ask the applicant if he agrees to these stipulations at this point, since they are kind of new?
It's acceptable to ask. It's also acceptable to approve without their consent.
Okay.
But you can always get acceptance. That's the best way to go.
Do you agree to those stipulations? I see, yes. Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Wooten, seconded by Mr. Coyle to approve the request with 4 stipulations. Are there any questions? If not, I will call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed would be a nay. There are none. The request is approved unanimously with 4 stipulations. Our last agenda item today is case number 2022-23W, application by Graydon Engineering requesting individual on-site septic systems for a proposed 6-lot subdivision due to lack of capacity within the current treatment basin. Property is located in land lot 959, District 3, Section 3, on the west side of Gullidge Road at 1269 Gullidge Road in Post 4. Is the applicant present? All right, please come up to the podium, sign in, state your name, give us your address, and present your case.
Good afternoon. My name is Ralph Davia with Graydon Engineering.
Could you say your name again? I'm sorry.
Ralph Davia.
Okay.
I live at 13062 Bethany Road in Alpharetta, Georgia. Originally, we had submitted a preliminary plat for, it was 11 lots. And during the preliminary plat process, we were made aware that there was a lack of capacity in the lift station that we are currently draining to. Mr. Minch asked that, Mr. Minch said that we wouldn't be approved until a study of the lift station was performed. And so what we've proposed is 6 lots, but we want to put all the infrastructure in for sewer. And we want to make an offer of $5,000 per lot as a contribution to a future upgrade of the current lift station, and remain on septic for the 7 proposed lots until we can connect to the system. All the infrastructure for the proposed development will be tied into an existing easement that we're going to give. We own Ivy Township, so we've given ourselves an easement to get to it. So that's pretty much it. We didn't want to go ahead and study the whole system, get together with other developers because of the amount of time and effort that would be. So we've reduced the number of lots, and we'd like to make a $5,000 per lot contribution to the system.
So is it 6 lots or 7 lots?
It's 7 lots with 1 existing home on it.
So
I don't understand.
6 new lots.
6 new lots.
So what is the existing house? Is it currently on a septic system?
And we have.
And it's going to remain as is.
Yeah, if we didn't, yeah, I mean, we could leave it on an existing system the way it is now, but if we go and develop it, we're keeping the house, putting it on its own lot. It was my understanding that we would have to, per the code, put it on sewer if it was available.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
You say that you're looking to go on septic because you don't want to do a study of the flow into the pump station?
It's not that we don't want to do it, it's the amount of time and getting the, when I talked to John said, I need to get with other developers about putting together a plan to what it would take to upgrade the system. And for 11 lots.
We're not talking about 11 lots, are we?
Well, no,
We're
but
talking about
this all was spurred off 11 lots originally, right? We're talking about 7 lots on septic, but this is because of what happened at the preliminary plat submittal.
Yeah, there is a project in for plan review behind you, the PRD behind you. That big project, and your road goes to where? You've got that
It ties
Whitman Court
into
headed somewhere?
It ties into the secondary entrance for Ivy Township.
Are you building that road?
Yes, the developer is. And we actually have sewer in that road. We just can't get to it. Well, no, here's the thing, I can get the sewer. I can put in all the infrastructure, but currently there's not the capacity in the lift state. Well, I think the capacity's there.
Well, and let me stop you right there, because I believe in your application letter, you say due to lack of capacity within the current treatment basin. I don't think that's an accurate statement. So you're now saying there's not capacity within the lift station.
Well, when it was explained to us So when we ask for a sewer capacity letter, it says it's based on lots that are platted. So the information of why we were denied in preliminary plat is, my understanding was because of the amount of preliminary plats that had been approved already. Is that correct?
Just to be clear, this is your time to present your case for why you believe this variant should be granted. It's not a time to inquire of things that may or may not have occurred in a process other than what we're hearing today.
Okay. We're submitting for 6 lots, 7 lots. And we would like to install the infrastructure for future connection. We'd like to make a $5,000 contribution per lot to a future upgrade of the basin or the system that we're tying into.
And also you'll pay the tap-on fees for that
And they'll pay
to
the tap-on
occur,
fees.
in addition to the
In addition.
$5,000 contribution?
When we can eventually tap on, correct, yes.
And then that land to the north of Whitman Court, that strange piece, what is that going to be? Is that open space?
That's all open space.
You'll have a 7-lot HOA?
What was your original route to tie on to sewer?
It ran between lots 2 and 3. And then the back of those adjacent lots, and it tied into the second phase of Ivy Township.
So it was not tying into Serenity Court, it's tying into the proposed development that will be directly to your west.
Correct.
And I mean, your 7-lot subdivision is still gonna have stormwater runoff, erosion control. Are you gonna be able to squeeze a detention pond for those lots on your 25,000 square foot lot?
We have actually accounted for that in Ivy Township,
In another project?
in the one next door, and we've provided there'll be in that bottom corner, there'll be a connection to the storm system.
And I think that part of that lot 5, there might be a draw going through down.
There's a slight draw going through, yeah.
And
But-
that might catch water off of Ivy Gulledge that'll need to be carried some kind of way through there.
We would
So as not
redirect.
to interfere with your lots.
Correct, through LDP, we would attack any,
Had not been engineered at this time.
it has not, sir.
I would like to, like I said, with the information that this states, due to the lack of capacity within the current treatment basin, the letter is not exactly what's been discussed. And my question to you, if I can ask, would you be willing to table this for us to do a little more investigation? And maybe for you to revise your letter?
If I have to, yes.
Okay. At this point, I'll see if anybody else on the committee has any questions for the applicant. If not, I'll have you take a seat for a moment, and we'll see if there is anyone present who would like to speak on behalf of this application. Is there anyone who would like to express opposition or has questions or concerns regarding this application? Please, there's a sign-in sheet. If you'll
sign in. It's like
sign
the
in.
game show, right? Mystery guest.
And then state your name and address all your comments to me.
Okay, my name is William Hanks. I live at 1313 Ivy Gulledge Road, which is just north of where this project is. There's several things that have a problem. First off, where that existing home is, originally the road was supposed to come straight out here, and they bought the property from the Wigleys where the existing home is there. And the Wigleys were already having problems with their septic system and drainage. As a matter of fact, the septic system, the gray water doesn't even go to it. It just dumps out in the yard. Well, this home was probably put back here in the early 60s. So when it rains and stuff like that, their system didn't work. And in the backyard, this top area here is pretty much a plateau. So it just stays there and stays mushy. And then it runs to the north side and comes through the woods out through my property. And I do have some topographical maps here that I was able to get. I don't know if you need to, you probably read these better than I can. But basically, back here behind where the Wigleys' home was, there is it starts out as a small gully, and then it turns into a rather large one that drains into here. Also, there is off of Ivy Gully here, a low spot, and it drains back into the back of this property here. And I have pictures if you all like the pictures too. And then this property is supposed to drain off into the subdivision behind us, which will drain into a pond which is already there. So if you look at how steep this is here, it's going to be real hard to put in a septic system, I would think. And the soil, at least around my property and around the Wigleys' home, excuse me here, I got a bunch of pictures. That's where a tree had fallen
If you
over.
want to just go ahead and give those
Yeah.
to the gentleman at the far end, we can.
This is where a tree had fallen over. And they've also done some test digs up there because they were looking for granite and stuff like that. The last time it rained was Thursday morning, and I took that picture Sunday afternoon. And that whole area is clay and granite. So I'm not opposed to homes being in there. I think 6 homes is going to be an awful lot, and how to get them to drain right is going to be a problem. I don't know if you want to look at these pictures where the swells are and stuff like that, the way it drains.
Today, we're really just here to consider, I mean, this project will go through our development control committee. We're just here to consider if they should be waived from having sewer.
Right, well, big thing
You,
is.
you have made some comments about the septic in the area, so.
Yeah, okay, as far as it being approved, I think more research needs to be done to see how well that soil perks and how well it will drain before anything should be done.
Okay.
Except, I'm not opposed to it going in, I just
Okay.
want a little more research done.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Is there anyone else present who would like to express opposition or has questions or concerns? If not, I would ask the applicant to come back up, and I will just go ahead and ask, have you reached out to environmental health? And have you done any testing?
We have not reached out to environmental health. We have done a level 3 soil analysis on it, on the site. The soils will perk. We've also dug test pits out there, and we did not hit granite like on the Ivy Township site, surprisingly. But
Are there any other questions?
if you need to table it to get a better understanding of it, I'm not gonna. Can we table it to next month?
That is typically what we do. Is
I didn't know with the holidays and everything.
We typically we have a development waiver review committee has a schedule, and we always meet on the.
I just wasn't sure
Tuesday.
with the holidays.
And we typically, when we table, we only do it for a month. So, if there are no other comments, I will ask for a motion.
A motion to table this until our next meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion for Mr. Wooten, seconded by Mr. Jones, to table this for 1 month until our next meeting scheduled in January, the 17th. If there are no questions, I will call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries by a vote of 4-1. So this is tabled until January 17th, 2023. This is our last agenda item. I will call for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 You're adjourned.